morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today is Tuesday, so of course we're going to talk a little bit of waiver wire. We've also got some life lessons coming up early in today's show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Everyone, go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Life lesson. I know some of you want to hear who you need to add, but let's be honest. I'll go ahead and put the cart before the horse. This week's waiver wire sucks. It sucks. It's awful. It's going to be a short show. And well, this morning I woke up to an awful text from my fiance. I got hit by a bus. Awful text to wake up to. Awful text to wake up to. So that's lesson number one. Don't send a text that I got hit by a bus if everything's okay. If everything's fine, say, hey, I got hit by a bus and everything's fine, maybe. But to wake up and your first text is, I got hit by a bus from your fiance, that's terrifying. Well, what happened? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I missed Friday's episode because of a vet emergency. I had to spend $800 to save my rabbit. Well, this morning, while leaving our apartment complex, my fiance got hit by a school bus. A school bus collided with her car and smashed the rear window. This is the rear window. That's the car. As you can see, kind of scraped it as well. The tail light is also busted. And yeah, hit and run as well. The bus hit her and left. Now, benefit of the doubt here. I assume the bus driver, being a big bus and all, couldn't tell that they made contact with another vehicle, maybe. I'm not sure. But either way, this is what I've been dealing with this morning. And I just got to say, don't hit and run. Now we're probably on the hook. Now, luckily, this was a school bus, so they're pretty easy to track down. I mean, like, we know the exact time and intersection. They have these bus routes, stuff like that. The bus will be there tomorrow, so we can figure out the bus number. But like, what the hell? Just can you, I don't know, not hit and run? That's today's life lesson. Be a good Samaritan, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Because now, hopefully not, but it's very likely that me and my fiance, on top of already this Friday, having to figure out a vet bill to save our damn bunny, now potentially on the hook for an accident that wasn't even her fault, right? Gets hit by a school bus and they just leave. I assume to take kids to school, but you just got in an accident. Kids need to be late, dude. Don't hit people. I don't know. Anyway, police came, report filed. We'll figure out insurance. They're going to try to track down the bus. Hopefully everything is okay, but just wanted to share that with you guys. Don't hit and run. Just don't do it. Just don't. And if you get hit by a school bus, make sure you write down the bus note. My fiance, poor thing, just so terrified in the moment, freaked out, didn't take any note of the bus or anything. Just kind of freaked out and turned around and called the police. But in fact, didn't even call the police, called me. It was like, hey, what do I do? Freaking out. Well, actually, I missed the text. Then I had to call because I was asleep. She leaves earlier than I wake up. Anyway, school bus, car accident, hit and run, be a good Samaritan. That's today's life lesson. There's no smooth segue either. Literally, no smooth segue. I've got nothing for you. But producer Dustin, shout him out. Same thing happened to him last summer. His fiance's car was totally totaled by a hit and run. I can only imagine the emotional, physical, and monetary toll that took. So guys, seriously, it's important to practice accountability. That is the most important. That's the lesson. The lesson is also to not hit and run, but to also take accountability, which is, embroiled into the same thing. You take accountability by not hit and running. But seriously, what the hell? I'm glad that it was able to get sorted so I can be here and talk the waiver wire, though. Let's get right on into it, ladies and gentlemen. As mentioned, this week, week 12 waiver wire, it kind of sucks. This is going to be a very short show. A very short show. If you've tuned into Waiver Wire over the last few weeks, we've now divvied up into sections. It's a little bit tougher earlier in the season. You're really just trying to throw shit at the wall, essentially seeing what sticks, picking up player here, there, everywhere. Now we know. Is this a player that's worth picking up in redraft? Is this a player worth picking up in Dynasty? Is this a player worth picking up at all? And those are our three categories. The players that I want you to add. The players that I want you to add only in Dynasty. And then the players that a lot of people are probably suggesting you add are going to be on a lot of Waiver Wire content. But I'm going to say you don't need to add them. You can add them if you want, if you need. But for the most part, those players are, to me, roster cloggers. And hey, speaking of roster cloggers, Jordan Mason is probably worth dropping. Probably. But we will be talking that later in the show. We'll see. I would say probably, but also probably not, as today's main lesson, I'll just go ahead and say it. It's backup running backs. That's all we care about really this week, but let's go position by position. We'll start at the quarterback position. And again, we've got three different categories, and we're going to start. Again, our category for the Waiver Wire is available in 75% or more of Yahoo leagues. We use Yahoo because it lets us get, the kind of lowest common denominator while also being able to work our way down to some of the deeper leagues as well. It's just a nice kind of, I don't know, what would be the term here? It's not a pH test, but you know what I mean. It's what is it? A pH test. It's similar to a pH test. Doesn't matter. You know what I'm trying to say. We're talking quarterbacks. These are players available in 75% or more of Yahoo leagues that need to be rostered. Litmus test. That's what I was thinking. Litmus test. Not a pH test. Anyway, Drake May. Guys, I'm surprised we still get to talk about Drake May. Are you kidding me? Drake May is only rostered in 14% of Yahoo leagues. And it's not going up. Why is it not going up? Every week we keep talking about Drake May. And every week I go on this spiel. He's an every week starter. He's worth starting in single QB leagues. He needs to be rostered. He needs to be added. Get Drake May. Get Drake May. Also, get Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston available in 88% of leagues right now. Add him. That's all I have to say, right? If you're in single QB and you need a quarterback, Jameis Winston is your guy. If he's available in Superflex for some reason, he's not available in Superflex. But if he is, say it's shallower, get him. Yeah, you might get a 13-pointer, but you're also more than likely going to get a 20-pointer. This guy is throwing the ball so much. His weapons are fine. Get Jameis Winston. Now, in Superflex only, you can add Tommy DeVito. Speaking of accountability, again, I told you guys to stash Drew Lock all season long. And that was because Drew Lock is a better quarterback than Tommy DeVito. Unfortunately, what we did not think about was the fact the Giants don't want to win games. They don't want a better quarterback there. They want to, command the tank here, and Tommy DeVito is just that. Probably should have realized that. Don't know why I didn't go that far. We all knew Daniel Jones would be benched. We'll take the W there. But I was shocked to see it's Tommy DeVito. In Superflex, you can add him if you're desperate. This is, I'm going to probably say, an if you need type category. He doesn't score fantasy points. Last year, he only had one game over 20 points and actually averaged 9.7 points per game. That's abysmal. But it's also still not bad. It is a floor in Superflex. And, last year he didn't have Malik Neighbors. So at least he has Malik Neighbors this year. Could be a little bit better. Not expecting too much. But in Superflex, if you need, I guess you can get Tommy DeVito. And if you're in a deeper Superflex league and you want a little bit of a stash, why not Trey Lance? Cooper Rush, not playing super well. Not playing terribly. I mean, he still had over 300 yards last night. But, 32 of 55, only one touchdown, has the interception. Trey Lance might get pulled in. Who knows? But yeah. And then also in Superflex, I want to go ahead and stash Michael Penix as well, just in case anything happens to Kirk Cousins in terms of his Achilles. But also, we see now the Falcons kind of going on a little bit of a tumble. I don't think they'll pull the plug, but it's very, very possible. In Superflex, I'm fine stashing Michael Penix. And then in Dynasty and or Superflex, we're adding Will Levis. Will Levis has, in back-to-back games, had over 15 points and only 1 interception in those 2 games, which is a lot better. He also has 12 carries over the last 2 weeks. So he is starting to get some fantasy points, starting to play a little bit better. Looks like his time on the bench behind Mason Rudolph kind of helped some things click. As we talked about yesterday, I'm starting to kind of believe in these Titans for next year. This year we were a little too early, but I still think they could figure it out. I still think Will Levis will be the guy. So in Dynasty, for sure, we want to pick up Will Levis, but also I see the case in Superflex if he's still available to get him. Justin Fields in Dynasty as well. I want to get Justin Fields in Dynasty. As we talked about again yesterday, I think it's possible he's on a new team next year or the starter for the Steelers. I think that they could end up kind of re-signing him and bringing him back to the team. And in Superflex, I don't mind stashing him as well, just in case Russell Wilson gets hurt or something. I don't think the Steelers will pull the plug on Russell Wilson, but if he gets hurt, we've seen what Justin Fields can do on this team. Definitely still worth rostering if he was dropped. And Bryce Young in Dynasty and or Superflex as well. In Superflex, similar to Tommy DeVito, I mean, he's not getting a lot of points, but he's doing better than Tommy DeVito. In the last 3 games, he hasn't had less than 10 points, just had a bye week as well, so hopefully a little bit well-rested, able to come out with a new game plan. Adam Thielen returns this week as well, so if you're desperate need of a quarterback in Superflex, Bryce Young's not a bad option. And in Dynasty, I do think he is going to turn it around. I'm not going to call Bryce Young a bust yet. I still think there's time. Again, I still feel and call the Frank Reich awful rookie season, right? Like we knew that Frank Reich ruins quarterbacks, so it was not a surprise to see what happened with Bryce Young year 1. Now, we thought, of course, at the beginning of the season he'd come out a little bit stronger, but sometimes you have to reset. They did let him reset, so we'll see. He's played a little bit better. Still has a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but he is showing signs of improvement, has won back-to-back games. I think that, as our producer Dustin says in the chat, Dave Canales has done more with less. And I do think that Bryce Young still has a bright future ahead of him. Maybe not as bright as top 10 Dynasty QB, but I still think, I mean, like, he could put up Derek Carr numbers, right? Like, come on. So in Dynasty and maybe even Superflex, I don't mind taking a swing on Bryce Young if he's available. And then lastly, in Dynasty, single QB, Superflex, either one. If JJ McCarthy is on your wire, just go ahead and stash him. More than likely he's not, but I just like to add him in here every week just in case. If JJ McCarthy is out there, get him. We've seen the success time and time again now from quarterbacks in this Minnesota system. JJ McCarthy, very, very talented. They used that first-round draft pick for a reason. He has Justin Jefferson. He has TJ Hawkinson. Great head coach in Kevin O'Connell. Get JJ McCarthy in single QB, in Superflex, if he's available on your wire in Dynasty. So that's kind of the quarterback position to kind of sum it up. In single QB, I'm fine adding Drake May and Jameis Winston. In Superflex, I'm looking to add, I guess, Tommy DeVito, Will Levis, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, and Trey Lance and Michael Penix are stashes. In single QB and Dynasty, in general, Will Levis, Bryce Young, Justin Fields, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy for some Dynasty ads. What's his value? Bryce Young's value, I assume, at the moment. I mean, he's like QB 25, if I'm remembering correctly, which is, yeah, I mean, I still think pretty cheap for a young quarterback with potential. So that's the quarterback position. Let's move on to running backs now. And I'll just go ahead and say it. I've got nothing to say, really, but everything to say all at once. Again, you just want backup running backs on your bench. You just want them. You want to stash these players just in case an injury falls their way. So we'll start with Dynasty only. Dynasty only. I think at this point, Isaac Guerendo, Marshawn Lloyd, Kamani Vidal are Dynasty only. Now, Jalen Wright is becoming part of this as well. It's not looking like he's going to get the opportunity. He's still worth stashing. I'm not going to give up on him, of course, but it's almost, I'm getting close to calling him Dynasty only. So I want to put that there. Just, he's getting close. Not sure yet. I mean, for sure, I want to add Jalen Wright and stash him everywhere, but we're trending towards a Dynasty only play with him. And then the players that, or the player really, the only running back that I would say is an if you want, and that is Cam Akers. Cam Akers, if you want. Yeah, he's getting most of the backfield. In fact, all the backup carries behind Aaron Jones. But I do think if Aaron Jones went down, he would split the backfield a decent bit with Ty Chandler. And I'm just not sure how much value there is there. Definitely still worth adding, but it's more of a if you're desperate type thing. I think there's better upside running backs, contingent upside running backs on the wire. Those being Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Khalil Herbert, Blake Corum, Roshan Johnson, and even now, Emmanuel Wilson, as it's looking like we're just not going to get Marshawn Lloyd this year. Those running backs in particular are heavily worth rostering rest of season. Huge contingent upside for them. I want to roster those running backs. And lastly, Dylan Laub. Dylan Laub is a big add this week. Zamir White and Alexander Madison are injured, so it's looking like he may actually get a full opportunity, him and Amir Abdullah. So definitely worth adding as well. He fumbled his only carry, so he hasn't really been able to do much in his career. And, we have very, very high hopes for him, and he hasn't really met those. But with opportunity, hopefully he can. This was a player we liked a lot. He has a very cool profile, a good receiving back. So I like Dylan Laub being added a lot, especially with the season being lost for Las Vegas. Maybe they are a little bit more comfortable trying to develop him a bit more this season. So that's kind of a priority add, I would say, at the running back position. I'm not sure the severity of those injuries, but I remember seeing that they picked him up. And I want to say it was like one was a shoulder, one was an ankle. Let me pull that up just in case. Because I do think that is pretty huge, especially if they are to miss an extended period of time. Let me go scroll down. All right, quad injury for Zamir, ankle injury for Alexander Madison. So, yeah, both of those are usually at least going to sideline you 1 week, which should be huge for Dylan Laub. Definitely look to add him this week. At the wide receiver position, there are very few that I want to add. But we'll start with Ray McCloud. Ray McCloud in full PPR leagues, I think, is someone worth rostering and adding this week, especially with Darnell Mooney getting banged up. Yes, it was a minor hamstring injury according to the Falcons, but last week he also popped up with a minor Achilles injury, and it just seems he's banged up, unfortunately. It's something to monitor, but I kind of want to go ahead and get ahead of it. I want to go ahead and pick up Ray McCloud just in case of the worst case. He just had 6 targets, brought in all 6 for 46 yards. So in full PPR leagues, he is valuable. He will score points. He will have a floor. So I like adding Ray McCloud in full PPR. Also, Elijah Moore is still heavily available for no reason at all. Over the last 4 weeks, he has 35 targets and just finally scored a touchdown, which is huge to see that connection with Jameis Winston coming out of the bye week. Elijah Moore is definitely worth adding. And that's it for the ones I definitely want to add. The ones that I would say fall into that if you want, if you need type category are these. Adam Thielen. He is probably going to be returning this week. I'm just not sure how he fits in now. I think that the Carolina Panthers are more interested in Xavier Legette at this point in time, and maybe even Jalen Coker. But Adam Thielen is probably still going to get volume, and be good. We saw him and Bryce Young have a good connection last year. Probably still going to have it this year. So if you need a wide receiver, I don't mind adding Adam Thielen. Alec Pierce, again, he's a boomer bust receiver. So really only if you have the stomach for that. And you're really only going to want to play him if you're desperate. That's why I throw him in an if you want. I don't generally like this type of player unless it's I need to take the swing and I don't have another choice. And in that case, it's nice having a player like this. So if you don't really have a boomer bust option, I don't mind taking a swing on Alec Pierce, but it is more of a if you need, if you want type situation. Jalen McMillan, I think as well. Now this is more so dynasty and deeper leagues, but I do think with Mike Evans coming back that the Buccaneers offense as a whole will look a lot better. And I do think that Jalen McMillan, now having the bye week, should be fully rested and get the opportunity that he deserves. And I think him opposite Mike Evans will be pretty good for fantasy. He's probably pretty easy to get right now. He still had that hype and still looked pretty good in his limited availability this season. I think that with Mike Evans back, the whole Buccaneers offense will look better. And I think that Jalen McMillan should have a big piece of that pie, as well as Sterling Shepard. I think it'll be Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard with Trey Palmer. Kind of the odd one out, right? And So Sterling Shepard is someone worth adding as well if you're maybe in a deeper league and you need a wide receiver. I don't mind adding him or Jalen McMillan if they're available. Jalen McMillan more so dynasty, but also in deeper leagues too, alongside Sterling Shepard. They should have some production. Again, as I do think that Mike Evans returning helps the Buccaneers as a whole, which should help the other weapons. Nick Westbrook-Akine fits into this as well. He has touchdowns in 5 out of the last 6 games, and he keeps getting volume. He keeps producing. If you're in a deeper league, if you need a wide receiver, I guess you can add Nick Westbrook-Akine. Again, when I talk about wide receivers, it's just like you really only want to add these guys if you're starting them. They just don't have much upside on your bench. That's why we like running backs more. But if you need a wide receiver, it seems Nick Westbrook-Akine is going to continue to be consistent. And Kendrick Bourne as well, if you need, right? Like, this is now 2 out of the last 3 weeks he's been the main guy. In fact, the last 2 games he's played, he's kind of been the main guy. This game, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Had 6 targets the game before that he played. Kendrick Bourne seems to be a big part of this Patriots offense. It seems to be Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne. So if you're in a deeper league, Kendrick Bourne is likely available. He's only rostered in 1% of Yahoo leagues. Definitely worth adding if you need a wide receiver in some deeper leagues. Now, in terms of dynasty, I already mentioned Jalen McMillan, but Adonai Mitchell, as we talk about the boomer bust potential of Alec Pierce, I do think that Adonai Mitchell is worth adding as well. He's also boomer bust, but they spent that 2nd-round draft pick on him. They do want to get him involved in this offense. He has the athleticism, has made a couple big plays. I like Adonai Mitchell's potential a lot, so I want to add him in Dynasty. I also want to add Jalen Polk in Dynasty. This was one that we were adding in redraft, but at this point, it's only happening in Dynasty. He's just not getting the volume, hasn't really performed well either, but I think he will develop into a good player for the Patriots. Jordan Whittington, I thought he would have opportunity with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I thought he would be the 3rd guy, but he's just not. It's just them 2. So in Dynasty, he's worth rostering. In redraft, probably not. Jordan Whittington, heavily available, worth adding in Dynasty. So are the 2 rookie Broncos receivers, Troy Franklin and Devon Vele. Troy Franklin, I'm giving up on in redraft. The volume's just not there. You can rely on him in deeper leagues maybe, but for the most part, he seems to be a dynasty play. Again, I still do firmly believe Troy Franklin will develop into Bo Nix's favorite target. It's just taking a little bit more time than I'd like to admit, which is fine. So I just want to add him in dynasty for now. Troy Franklin. Roman Wilson as well. He's on IR, but a profile we really, really like, and we don't mind the Steelers offense as well. Roman Wilson, I want to go ahead and add in Dynasty as well. And yeah, we'll throw Ryan Flournoy in here. Ryan Flournoy needs to be stashed in Dynasty, guys. What a game last night. What a game. It's happening. It's going to happen in this game. 2 receptions for 19 yards. Had another that was called back, and he looked pretty damn good as well. So Ryan Flournoy in Dynasty. We want to get him as well. He's going to develop into a stud, guys. I'm telling you, he was awesome. He was awesome to watch at the Senior Bowl. Really great college resume. Awesome at the Combine. Got a good landing spot as well. I like him in Dallas. Ryan Flournoy to the moon in Dynasty. And lastly, the tight end position. The ones that I want you to add are Juwan Johnson. And this is just Foster Moreau picked up a concussion, I believe. So just kind of something to monitor. With him out, Juwan Johnson should get some extra volume, especially since there's just no one in New Orleans. So I don't mind getting Juwan Johnson at the tight end position, given how barren it is. Also, Jatavian Sanders, right? We talk about it. He keeps getting targets, keeps being fed, has the athleticism, has now the connection with Bryce Young. We like him a lot. And we also like Theo Johnson. A little less on Theo Johnson now with Tommy DeVito. I'm not going to lie. I think that Tommy DeVito is even worse than Daniel Jones. But still, we like his athleticism. And it's very possible Tommy DeVito and Theo Johnson have been, kind of practicing together a little bit as well. So we'll see. Less sold on Theo Johnson than I was a couple weeks ago. But still, I like him a lot, especially in Dynasty. But even rest of the season, I think he could get some volume. Now, the ones that are falling into the if you want / if you need category, Noah Fant. He's heavily available on the Seahawks offense that passes the ball a ton. The only reason I'm not really confident in him is he's just not really scoring touchdowns, and there's not that much volume to go around for him with JSN and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, right? He'll get something because the Seahawks pass the ball a lot, and that's why I think it's okay adding him. I just don't really think he has that much of a ceiling. And then Luke Schoonmaker. Last night, he had 6 catches for 56 yards. This is a tight end profile we like a lot. We recommended drafting him the first season of Wake and Take, his rookie year. And he never really panned out. Does have a really good profile, though, and if he's going to get opportunity, he'll probably succeed with it. But Jake Ferguson is only concussed, so it depends how long that timeline is. Something to monitor, but probably worth adding if you need a tight end, if you have the roster space. And then in Dynasty, if Ben Sinnott's available, you got to get him. You got to get Ben Sinnott if he's available. You might as well. In Dynasty, he's going to develop into something awesome. Right now, just kind of held back by Zach Ertz, but has a really good profile and on a good team with Jaden Daniels, right? So there we go. And that's it. Like I said, kind of a barren week. I'm not going to lie. Not a lot of good stuff out there. I'll go ahead and pop into the chat and answer what questions y'all have. Yeah, so is Mason worth dropping? I think I talked about Isaac Guerrero at some point. He's available. I would recommend only really adding Isaac Guerrero in Dynasty. As it pertains to Jordan Mason, he's worth rostering. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think you got your Jordan Mason points. It would be awful if Christian McCaffrey got hurt again, but it can happen. And we've seen what Jordan Mason can do with that opportunity. So he's worth rostering. I would be curious who else is out there. I would view Jordan Mason as you've gotten your value out of him, but anything could happen. We'll see. What was my favorite Audric Estime moment? I guess just when everyone was so excited about him saving their season, myself included. Traded a 4th for Devito. Not awful, especially if you need a quarterback. Get that quarterback on your team, get some points. Ryan Flournoy for sure. Let's go. That was awesome. Good catch. And you are right. I guess AJ Barner did kind of take Noah Fant's job. So, screw Noah Fant. Let's get AJ Barner if he's available. And nice. Ryan Flournoy in 5 leagues. That's a lot. That's a lot of leagues. Get him in more. Get them in more. All right, everyone. I think that's it. Short show. Again, just a barren week. But hang in there, everyone. Do your waiver wire. Get Dylan Lobb. I guess get Tommy DeVito, Ray McLeod. I don't know. Add those players. Everyone, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. Have a terrific Tuesday and a wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow for the Market Watch episode of Wake and Take. Have a good one. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.